and welcome back to the MMA India show. This is your host Parvin Dabas, and with me is Akhilesh Ganavarrapu, live with us, so we will have no internet problems whatsoever today, and we'll not have to wait for the internet to what is it called when it
reload?
Not reload, when it's like buffer. Yeah, so we won't have to wait for it to buffer. And we have a really big announcement at the end of the show, so hold on. And as we talk UFC Auckland, it was a great night of fights.
It was.
You know, it was because there was a lot happening all the time. Even in the very first, apart from the prelims and the very first fight, which was Aldrich versus this young Korean girl, Cheom or something, I forgot her name, but that was also a really great fight. All the 6 fights in the main card, you know, even if I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 5 of them out of 6 were stoppages, which was amazing, you know, for a main card. So it was really exciting.
Right.
You know, if you started with the only one which is not a stoppage was Volkanovski versus Hirota, and that was also a really exciting fight because it could have been stopped a couple of times, but Hirota had a really strong chin.
Right.
And then the Ben again versus Tim Elliott fight, which again Ben came out of nowhere because Tim Elliott's had the last 2 fights of his were really amazing. One, of course, against Demetrius Johnson, the other against Luis Smolka, and he was somebody that everybody expected to, you know, really get things going, but people underestimated Ben, and you know, he came up with that rear naked choke in the very first round itself.
Right.
And then Ian Cotilba versus Luis Enrique again, you know, he came out with a lot of aggression, pointed to the, went right up to him, pointed to the, you know, the floor and everything. And you know, sometimes when that happens, you're always a little like, you know,
way too aggressive.
Yeah, is he being way too aggressive? Is he going to overreach? You know, so, but he showed he wasn't, and he is like a new upcoming name, though he has been winning, you know, a couple of his last fights.
Yeah.
But he is a really good upcoming name in the light heavyweight.
Right.
Then even Daniel Hooker versus Ross Pearson. Ross Pearson, of course, has been losing, you know, on a losing streak, and he really needed this win if he needed to stay in the UFC.
Right.
But the new kid on the block, you know, and in the second round, he was starting to make a comeback, Ross Pearson.
Right.
You know, with his counters and everything, and it is that. But then Hooker really, I think, saw an opportunity in that, and when he came in once, he got in that knee from nowhere.
Right.
You know, so we were just talking, it's not like the Chris Weidman Romero knee, because Chris Weidman was trying to go for a takedown. Here he was literally just coming into the pocket when he saw the opportunity and, you know, got that knee in. Right. Now coming to the 2 main fights, you know, Derek Brunson versus Daniel Kelly. Again, very first round, you know, we saw a much smarter Derek Brunson.
Yeah.
Who learned from his last 2 mistakes, and if you saw the post-fight conference also, you would see that he did learn a lot. He said, you know, I couldn't sleep at night, thinking how stupid I had been and everything. And you know, Daniel Kelly, of course, coming off the win against Rashad Evans,
right,
and people expecting a lot from him, but Derek Brunson, of course, going back to the old Derek Brunson,
right,
and getting that win.
Right.
You know, you want to say anything about that?
Yeah. So, you know, Derek Brunson, as you said, the previous 2 fights, it was completely contrast of, you know, his natural self. First fight against Whittaker, he was way too aggressive. You know, he was leaving himself open. The main drawback with someone like Derek Brunson, who is a power puncher, is he throws heavy hands. When you throw that, you know, you leave yourself open for counters, and that's what Whittaker did. Against Anderson Silva, that was completely opposite. You know, he was being way too respectful. He gave Anderson Silva way too much respect. He was way too tentative to pull the trigger. But, you know, against Daniel Kelly, you kind of saw what Derek Brunson is really capable of. You know, we talk about explosive power of, you know, the middleweight fighters, and we also talked about how people like Uriah Hall, for example, have that ability but just threw it away. You know, and before this fight, you know, he was coming into the fight obviously with 2 losses. I thought if he loses to Daniel Kelly. That's probably going to be it for Derek Brunson, which is surprising because Derek Brunson was ranked, in number 6, number 7. He's not way down. He's, in the top 10. So this was a fight where Derek Brunson had to win. But again, Daniel Kelly, you never count out someone who's an exceptional judo artist, an exceptional jiu-jitsu guy. But at the same time, he's very slow. You saw against Rashad Evans, the biggest thing that worked in Kelly's favor is Rashad is not quick as well. Both of them are, in their late 30s. So, against Derek Brunson, who is explosive, when he's at his explosive best, he's one of the most dangerous strikers in the middleweight division. But this time around, he did not be overly aggressive like he was against Whittaker. Against Whittaker, he chased Whittaker around the octagon. But this time around, he was, in his self. He did not overcome it. He was
a little overconfident against Whittaker, almost as if all he had to do was show up and win.
Right. So the other thing is, he was fighting in Whittaker's backyard, so he wanted to kind of make an example of Whittaker. So this time around, it was not that. He was confident. He was just limiting himself to where he was best at. And you could see Kelly. He has a very weird stance. It's not like a judo stance or anything like that. He lowers his
low,
and he has a heavy wide stance. So against someone like that, who could, if Brunson steps in, you have someone like Daniel Kelly, you can take him down and work on him on the ground. So it was best that Derek Brunson kept his distance, but at the same time he measured his range. He had the reach advantage. And if he did not take use of that, if he did not make use of his reach advantage, then he could have, talked about a lot of the bad things that Derek Brunson has. So with that 6-7 inch reach advantage, he had to capitalize on that. He had to make use of it, and he did that exceptionally. He, measured his distance, kept himself out of the range of Kelly, and then he countered.
So what next for Derek now? Because he didn't seem to have an idea also.
Yeah, he called out Bigfoot, I guess.
No, not Bigfoot. See, that was a mistake. He actually meant Antonio Silva Jr.
Yeah, but he said, I want Antonio Silva.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting because who can you give Derek Brunson to? Because, you talk about Uriah Hall, you talk about Whittaker, you talk about Romero, all of these guys are booked. Now you have Anderson Silva, who he already fought. Now you have Jacare Souza. So it's kind of a very iffy situation.
Jacare would be a good idea, actually.
It would, but again, Brunson just won. You would probably want him to build momentum. But if you give someone like Brunson, someone like Jacare, you'd be essentially throwing him into
the deep end again.
Yeah. So if I were Sean Shelby, I would probably look at one more tune-up fight. When I say tune-up fight, I wouldn't say someone outside the top 10, probably in the top 10, but a 9th or a 10th ranked fighter.
So who is the 9th or 10th ranked?
Hector Lombard is still in. I think he's in the middleweight division itself. Yeah, he's fighting in the middleweight division. So
like a Hector Lombard.
Like a Hector Lombard. The thing
which would be an exciting fight, actually.
Which would be an explosive fight. Someone like Derek Brunson. The only thing is Hector Lombard, again, the reach disadvantage that Hector Lombard has, but he is very explosive when he goes for the takedowns. He isn't someone that just nabs for a single leg. No, he just shoots and takes someone with a double leg, and he's very explosive. He throws explosive hands as well. So someone like Hector Lombard would be a good idea for Derek Brunson. But throw him in against the heavy hitters, like the Jacare Souzas or Luke Rockholds. Not yet. Maybe one more fight, then throw him into the top 5.
Well, coming to the main event, Mark Hunt versus Derek Lewis. This was always going to be a pataka, of a fight, and it proved to be. It was, they were both playing a really smart fight as well.
Yeah.
They were both, not rushing in, of course. He was keeping him. His leg kicks were amazing for a guy his size.
Right.
They were amazing that he was able to get them to his head. And, he was letting him know about his uppercut that I can,
right.
Even though that's Mark Hunt's weapon.
Right.
And he knew he wasn't going to, he wasn't going to go in. And so he was trying to bait him as well.
Right.
But he was also showing him, he was also getting him off him sometimes with his kicks. And,
right.
So it was going back and forth.
It was.
It was going back and forth, and it could have been anybody's except You know, and this is where, you know, it's like a conundrum for Derek is you cannot, okay, his gas tank finished. It wasn't really a TKO. It's just that he gave up.
More like the Dada 5000 fight in Bellator.
Yeah. Well, in that, both of them got tired.
Dada essentially flip-flopped and fell to the mat.
Yeah. So he just ran out of gas. He just could not do anything anymore.
Right.
So of course you couldn't defend him. You know, he was still defending himself. But anyway, we all saw it. We all knew it was over.
Right.
So now for a guy like Derek, he knows he cannot realistically last 5 rounds because there wasn't a lot of real running around in this.
Right.
You know, both of them were, you know, taking their time, conserving their energy.
Right.
Now, for a guy like Derek Lewis, he can't rush in and force the fight against a guy like Mark Hunt because who's waiting with his uppercut.
And the other thing is, Mark Hunt is probably the most versatile and resilient heavyweight because he has been in 5-round wars.
Yeah.
We have seen Mark Hunt do that. We haven't seen Derek Lewis do that. As a matter of fact, we know for a fact that Derek Lewis cannot do that going into the fight. So everyone thought it would be a 2nd round or 3rd round finish. Why? Because Derek Lewis thrives on finishing people. He doesn't go the entire distance, especially if it's a 5-round fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, coming to the fight itself, it was in the first round you could see both the fighters kind of setting the pace. But the second round, in the middle of the second round, you see Derek Lewis kind of fading away, and that's when Mark Hunt stepped up. You cannot do that against someone like Mark Hunt, you know, who has been there, who has done that. He has been in 5-round wars. We know for a fact that he can go all 5 rounds and still be, you know, if he sets a pace,
he really knows how to pace himself. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's where Derek Lewis kind of puts things up. And the other thing is, as you said, you know, so it was very tactical in the first and second rounds. You saw Mark Hunt kind of maintaining the range with his leg kicks. You saw Derek Lewis, you know, trying to go for that head kick knockout.
Yeah.
And as you know went forward after the second round, you could see Mark Hunt growing in confidence. You know, he was the more aggressive fighter. He was pushing the pace. He was the one coming forward. Now after the 3rd round, during the 3rd round itself, you saw Derek Lewis fading. You know, so it was only a matter of time.
Yeah.
The only thing that he could do was get a knockout. He had to stop the fight in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. So once the fight went into the 4th round, once you saw Derek Lewis, he was so gassed out that he couldn't throw a punch. You know, he threw one punch, then he just waited there. He was waiting for Mark Hunt to do something. So once that happened, you knew Mark Hunt is gonna, get the victory. But now the thing is, where do these two fighters go from here? That's the most interesting thing because Derek Lewis.
Derek Lewis more said this is his last fight, and he wants to retire. Family has had enough. Though, like a lot of people said.
A lot of people
said that you know, he's a fighter. Where is he going to go? You know, and this is not really his time to retire. He's just really started.
He's just starting, and the other thing is,
I think at that time he was just really tired, and he was just like, man, so both ho gaya, you know, I think it was that kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. After a performance like that,
I don't think he gave a bad performance, though. I think he was.
He gassed out. Right?
Yeah, but he gassed out, which is different from a bad performance.
What's a bad performance?
Yeah, well, it's what you perform till you gas out.
So you know, if someone gas out in the 1st round, that's still, you know.
Yeah, but that's the 1st round.
You know, the point is, in the 1st round, Derek Lewis did something, but in the middle of the 2nd round, you saw him fading. If you want, and people actually talked about Derek Lewis.
Yeah, fading, but he was still, you know, the fight was still on. Whatever was Mark Hunt was, you know, trying to creep in, he was still, you know, getting counters, kicking, pushing him off, showing the uppercut, you know, letting him know that I'm still in the fight.
Yeah, but if, you know, so the thing is, if you start to fade, then you don't throw as much volume as you normally do. So then
but he wasn't throwing a lot of volume anyway. So they were being very cautious anyway. That's my point.
But in the 2nd round, he slowed the pace.
Yeah,
he slowed drastically. You know,
that's because he started taking, you know, the use of the fence to rest and everything.
Right. And the other thing is, one interesting thing happened during the fight. If Mark Hunt goes on a rampage against his opponent when he's against the cage, Mark Hunt is at his lethal best, you know, with his uppercuts. Now, when Derek Lewis was against the cage, Mark Hunt said, "Samne aap nacho." So you know, it was It wasn't like, there was an instance where he said,
come here, yeah.
So that was one of the... He had to prove a point. Mark Hunt, after his last performance against Overeem, I think he had to prove a point. And he did.
Yeah.
An exclamation.
Yeah. But he gave a lot of respect to Derek Lewis a couple of times, saying he doesn't do drugs. And he respects him because of that.
Yeah, that's the thing. So it's a subtle dig at UFC as well.
I don't think it was subtle at all.
Yeah.
What was so subtle about it?
I mean, he doesn't do drugs, but So anyways, now the thing is, who's next for both of these? Let's say take it. Derek Lewis has retired. What's next for Mark Hunt? That's going to be the interesting situation.
Yeah.
Because can you throw him against a top 5 guy? Not yet in the heavyweight division. The only other fighter that is free at this point is Francis Ngannou. I think he's booked with someone, right? Or
no, Francis Ngannou is not actually.
Is not. So Derek Lewis was actually planning to face Francis.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen with Mark Hunt?
So there was some banter on Twitter from Francis Ngannou who said, because Derek said, oh, you beat up Andre, a 38-year-old, and now he's saying you lost to a guy who's 43-year-old.
Right. So,
and he's the oldest guy on the roster.
Right. Oh, yes, Mark Hunt is. So, if you look at Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou, you thought at one point, at least a couple of months ago, I thought these two are going to be the faces of the heavyweight division, because Fabricio Verdum is fading away. Cain Velasquez, not the same guy. Steve Miocic is probably the only one that is performing at a high level.
Yeah.
But who else is there in the heavyweight division? Your JDSs, your Stevan Struves. So these guys, you have a lot of opening, especially in the heavyweight and the light heavyweight divisions.
Yeah.
So I think if Derek Lewis retires, it's going to be a big loss for UFC, because they had a face for the heavyweight division, especially with how Derek Lewis calls out Ronda Rousey. Yeah, but I think Ronda Rousey is proving out to be a very bad omen for all these people. Travis Brown. Now
yeah. So he should, well, Hindi में क्या कहते हैं? What do they call it in Hindi?
I'm a South Indian. I'm probably the last person to be asking about that.
Okay, anyway, I'll think of it soon. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Basically, नजर उसका नाम लेते ही मैच नजर लग जाती है. Basically, yeah.
Even Paige Van Zandt, she said, "Oh, I want to be like Ronda Rousey."
Yeah.
So. Don't call her Ronda
Rousey. Don't mention Ronda Rousey's name.
Right. Talking about Ronda Rousey, we had an announcement.
We had an announcement.
As in, you had an announcement.
Which we will.
Yeah.
Are we finished with the show?
Yeah, sure.
With more or less. So I think, we're coming to the thing again. Derek Lewis, let's see whether he does fight. That's the main thing, is not who he'll fight, but whether he will continue to fight. Maybe I think after he gets married, he's going to need the money again, which is fair enough. I mean, everybody, he has to have the money. That's what everybody, at the end of the day, fights for, Yeah. So, wife is going to kick him on his ass, saying, "Banchut kama ke la, kuch paise leke aa banchut."
And certain people are born to fight. You have the Anthony Robbins.
And he's great. I don't like I said, I don't think his performance today was bad. I think it was that one. It could have gone either way. It was that one punch, and he was being smart about it. He wasn't trying to rush.
Right.
He was trying to bait him in. So he was being smart about it. Of course, he gassed out. He's just not a 5-round guy.
Right.
We all probably know that. Unless he does something about his cardio.
He has to.
Yeah. So he's not a 5-round kind of guy. So.
But as someone said, it's better to lose via gassing out rather than trying to poop and run back.
Yeah. I have to go back. So, but for Mark Hunt, I think we all still want to see him.
Yeah.
And I think, very frankly speaking, I think the point he's been making is correct. Like he says, all I'm asking for is a level playing field. There's nothing wrong in that.
Right.
He deserves a level playing field. So let's see who he fights next. He's already had a couple of fights with Junior Dos Santos, right?
Yeah.
He has already.
He has for JDS. He has for JDS.
He has. Who won?
I think it was JDS. I think it was at a point when he was climbing the ladder to face the champion.
Okay, anyway, so we'll check on that. And so that would be a good...
yeah, I think so.
Or even a Verdum.
Or even Ben Rothwell.
Ben Rothwell, I think, because he just lost his last fight.
He lost, but I think that's a fantastic matchup. Ben Rothwell, Markant. I want to see two sluggers at this point. And in the heavyweight division, you have, a lot of sluggers, but you have a dynamic which just works.
Yeah.
So that's what I said. Who is Markant going to face? It's a conundrum for Sean Shelby.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So down to the announcement. The MMA India show is going to be in Singapore. Akhilesh is flying out Monday, and he is going to be there in Singapore, taking interviews with all your favorite fighters: Stephen Thompson, Jorge Masvidal, who have already been on the show, Juliana Pena, fuck. Yeah. She's gonna kill me. Juliana Pena, and who else are we expecting? Apart from the main card, we are expecting some interviews with them. And we are going to be on Facebook Live. We're going to start Facebook Live. We will be announcing beforehand the fight times. Sorry, not the fight times, but the interview times. When we will be getting some time with the fighters, whenever, and we will be live at the weigh-ins. We'll be live at the what is that called? Open workouts, and we will be live everywhere. So, except for the fight. So that you know where to watch that. So so we're gonna be live. Are you excited?
Absolutely. The last time I was there, it was phenomenal. Ronda Rousey lost. So.
Oh yeah, that was Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey. Oh fuck, you were
UFC
there.
193.
I remember watching that. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see what happens this time. I mean, if Betchko picks up a victory against Holly Holm, that's gonna ruffle some feathers. I
don't really see that happening.
Yeah, neither do I. But again, stranger things have happened in the past.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to talk about the fight itself because we'll do it in the preview. But Betchko just doesn't have that explosive knockout power.
Yeah, I think this is the fight that Holly Holmes needs to get her mojo back.
I don't think so. I think everyone expects Holly to win this fight because she has lost randomly.
Yeah, but they expected her to win some other fights also, which she didn't. So that's why I'm saying she does need one fight.
Yeah, she needs to
get back into the W.
Dominant victory though.
Yeah.
Because she's coming down to 135. She's facing.
Not for anybody else, but for herself.
For herself, yes. So it's a confidence booster.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of guys on this card who are trying to find themselves. You have Andrei Arlovski as well. You have Rafael dos Anjos, yes. You have Colby Covington. You have Don Young Kim, who's coming back as well in Singapore.
So a lot of these guys. So hopefully we'll get interviews with all of them.
Yep.
And the Indian fans also on Facebook Live. You guys will be able to ask questions. Of course, while we're interviewing them. So I would say next week, stay tuned all the time to Facebook. Our Facebook page this coming week, this week, and you will get to know when we're interviewing whom. Sometimes last minute things will pop up. We'll be doing all kinds of things. Even on our Instagram, which is the MMA India show, we'll be doing various things. We'll try to get Akhilesh to do some boomerangs, and all the other stupid shit. Or Twitter, we'll be doing some live Twitter feeds of the fights like we've been doing anyway. So, but of course, we're very excited for the Facebook Live interviews, because people will be able to see it while it's going on and ask questions as well, and hopefully, we'll be able to read them and involve, our Indian audience in it as well.
We have to. This is the first time that's going to happen. So a lot of people have sent us questions, asking. For example, the Stephen Thompson interview, you saw a lot of people asking questions, but we could not ask all of them.
Yeah.
But this time around, maybe we get the opportunity.
Yeah. So start sending in your questions now for Stephen Thompson, Jorge Masvidal, Juliana Pena, and all the fighters. All the fighters on the main card, you never know who you will get. Oh, we are going to interview.
We are going to interview a lot of people.
Yeah.
The main fighters should be a possibility too.
Yeah. So we are going to get a chance to interview a lot of them. So start sending in your questions, and we will try to adjust them, or come on Facebook Live and put in your question. Hopefully we will read it. But the best way, of course, is just send in your question, DM it, and hopefully we will read it and jot it down. So.
And they have some exciting merchandise to look ahead to as well, I guess.
Yeah, so we are going to hopefully get some stuff signed. Some MMA India mugs and T-shirts and some UFC gear, which Akhilesh will be picking up from there. Yeah. Some posters and caps and you know, whatever else we can get our hands on, we will be picking up and hopefully getting it signed by some big stars, and then auctioning it out for the most money because we're sick and tired of doing fucking free shit for you guys. Man, so both get free, man. So we're just kidding. We'll give it out as prizes and everything. So because we're nice guys. So that's that, and happy journey.
Thank you.
And wait, subscribe to our YouTube channel, fuckers.
That's the most important thing.
That's the most important thing. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Put in MMA India show on YouTube, and you will find it. Subscribe to it.